All right, welcome. We're going to do forward bending practice today with a focus on binding, which means we're going to put our hands together in various positions to preserve the forwardness, the spreading of the chest. But we're also going to play with our hands down just to kind of be able to compare and contrast. So it'll be a different class than Monday. We're going to start in our non-dominant cross-legged position. And just take some time. You can rotate the entire thigh with both hands, kind of rolling your inner thighs down, rolling your outer thighs kind of back and out. And then rocking back and forth and side to side on your sitting bones, just to kind of locate the center points. And then see if you can adjust your shoulders to arrive right above your hips. And think about your shoulder blades, instead of flat, the inner tips just kind of curling toward the chest. And we never want to jam our shoulder blades together. So we want to keep a sense of broadness between the shoulder blades. And then watch what happens with your lumbar spine when you open your chest. Oftentimes we can distort the lower spine when we're particularly focused on the upper spine. So just make sure that you have your navel drawn in toward your spine and that your lumbar is long. And then see if you can tap into some extra weight in your legs. And then try to keep as much of that intact as you can as you join your hands together in front of your heart. Softly closing your eyes, looking away from your brain. And coming into the witness role. It's one of the things I love about yoga is off of the mat, we can get so heady. We can get so kind of mind dominant. So with the eyes looking away from the brain just kind of takes a back seat. We can be aware in a more expansive way, in a less busy mental state. Just paying attention to the breath flow, any sensations you detect throughout your body, tensions that might be present this morning. And sitting long enough that you feel that you've connected with as much of a true picture of how you're beginning your practice this morning as you can. And then attempt to keep your chest forward as you bow towards your heart. Lower your hands and lift your head. Let your eyes come open. Welcome. So we're going to start out in reclining hand to big toe pose. We're just going to do one with our strap. And we're going to have the arms above the head to really feel what it's like to be in forward flexion, but keeping the integrity of the chest. So you can use a blanket for your head if that's something you normally use for reclining poses. And have your strap. If you have a longer strap, that's, I guess, preferred here. But if you just have one strap to work with, it should be fine. You just need enough length to take hold of the right foot and be able to extend our arms overhead. So your biceps are right alongside your ears. Feel free to wrap your hands so you're conserving your energy a little bit. You're not squeezing super hard on your strap. And try to have your strap just beneath the big toe and small toe ball mounds. And work with your strap. You can get feedback. Oftentimes we have to put a little more emphasis into reaching the instep of the foot up so that the sole of the foot is even. We're not sickled here. You're finding your straightest leg, which might mean you have to take the leg a little farther from the torso. Your left leg is activated, meaning your toes are above your heel, and you're trying to really seal the leg against the floor. You're not just passively resting your left leg. Keep your chin tilted toward your chest. And gently just kind of draw your left heel toward your hip socket. So we're in a forward, this is technically a forward extension, but with the arms overhead here, we're getting a really good imprint on how to keep our chest in the sunlight. If we were reaching closer to the foot, we might be tempted to round the shoulders to kind of collapse the chest or let it recede. And because you've been here a little bit of time now, you might be able to draw the leg closer without bending it. So just take a few more breaths here. And softly, you're going to start to bend your right knee. You can help your right foot step down. You can keep your right knee bent as you take your left leg up. It keeps your back a little bit happier. And once you have your left foot in the strap, feel free to extend the right leg. And we'll go right back to the Urdhva Hastasana position with the arms. Your palms should be facing each other. And the shoulders are rooted into the trunk. Don't let the shoulders float up to your ears. Keep your shoulders anchored toward the torso, toward the hip line. Extend out through your fingernails. And imagine the arms are extensions of your torso. They're even with the torso, and they're kind of expressing the lines of energy that move from the hip crest to the armpits. Notice how with the arms like this, you're able to think about those inner shoulder blades and use them in a way that they can bring support to the chest. Take a look at your left foot. Make sure your left instep is as close to the ceiling as your outer foot is. And then you're going to gently see if you can draw the leg closer. Just maybe you can't, but just always checking in that you aren't just kind of going into your complacent, kind of dull mental state. If you hold a pose very long, sometimes the mind starts to wander. And now gently start to bend your knee and begin to take your strap off of the foot. You can step your both feet onto the floor and just put your strap aside. I'm going to roll over, and we're going to be setting up Virasana, the hero pose. So we're including Virasana today because we're going to do one pose that involves binding, which is Bharad Vajrasana. It's actually a twisting pose. It's not a forward bend, but it includes binding. And so I thought it would be appropriate to just tuck it in here. And so we need to prepare the legs. So if you're somebody that needs a little padding underneath your legs in hero pose, make sure to spread out a blanket. Make sure your sitting bones have adequate support. And that might mean it's ample. It might be a lot of support. So don't judge how much you need. And then take care of the four corners of the knees. You don't want to see knees rotating in. That's a sign you're a little distorted. So take care of rolling the flesh of your calf muscles out. You might also pull the under thighs in from the outer under thighs to the inner under thighs. And then you're going to make sure your toes are pointing straight back. They're not turning out. And that your outer feet are sitting down as much as your inner feet. And then just pressing your fingertips into the soles of your feet. So we have this really lifted and spread chest here, but again, make sure your lumbar just didn't turn into sway back. I call it the pooching belly sway back monster. So navel in, tailbone curls into the soft tissue of the body. The shoulders are above the hips. And here, without the arms up yet, you're feeling the lines of energy from the hip crest to the armpits. You're lifting. Good. So we're going to take our hands in front of us, Purvatasana. Bind the hands, go to your familiar interlock. Rotate the palms to face out. And then take the arms up. So just like the feet, we have a little dullness that can occur here. The thumb side of the hands like to be a little bit more dull. So just give a little more emphasis, reaching up through the base of the thumbs themselves, bringing more evenness to the palms facing the ceiling. Try to fully extend your arms. Notice how the position is encouraging the shoulder blades to move toward the chest, and then make sure you're not, as a result, distorting the lumbar spine. Shoulders stay plugged into the trunk, eyebrows stay relaxed, temples stay relaxed. And now go ahead and start to bring your hands forward and rotate so that you can take the other pinky out as your loose pinky. You can go into your alternate interlock. Press the palms forward again once you have that, and then take the arms up. Tailbone moving in. You might even grip the floor with a little extra emphasis with your small toes. Keep your jaw relaxed. Take the hands slightly farther back, which will push the shoulder blades forward. And go ahead and release. Nice work. So when you release, just take a Shavasana arm with your palms facing forward. And for most of us, we know about internal and external shoulder rotation, but it's always a good idea just to remind ourselves. So with your palms forward, facing forward, tilt the pinkies up. So your palms kind of start to face the ceiling. And this is putting us in external shoulder rotation, which is really other way, Judy. So thumbs up, there you go. So this is really how we want to feel when we're in a forward bend, whether or not our arms are behind us or our hands are on the floor. We want to try to create this feeling, this effect. In forward bends, we always want the chest forward, lifted and spread. So now go ahead and turn so your thumbs point down, your palms face back. This is internal shoulder rotation, and this is kind of what we're trying to avoid. Your body will aggressively try to put yourself here because of gravity, so we have to do a lot of work to resist this, which is kind of the work we're doing today. So put yourself back in the right position. Good. And now just bring left fingers down, right arm up, and take a little lateral extension here. So one thing we talked about on Monday was how lateral movement and twisting action for the spine increases our depth in forward bends. We're not going to do that a lot today, but I did tuck in a few lateral moves and a few twists. We just won't be talking about it as much. Inhale, come out. Right fingertips down, left arm up. And try to bring some weight back to that left sitting bone, the left foot. Good. Inhale, come up. Right. And now taking your hands behind you. Bind into your familiar interlocks. We're just going to do this once. Roll your shoulders back, finding external shoulder rotation. Pull your hands toward the floor so your arms are straight. Open the palms. Don't lose the webbing, the tight kind of interlock that you have. Don't let that slip. Inhale, lift and spread your chest. Now exhale, use your toenails to grab the floor as you reach forward with the chest and just kind of come into a forward bend. So if something moves forward, something has to stay really anchored back. So use the feet, use your hands. And notice how shoulders want to droop here because we're facing gravity in the wrong direction. So really try to find a way to roll the inner upper arms out to keep the shoulder blades plugging into the chest. And inhale, come up. Good work. Release your interlock, raise both arms. And on an exhale, twist to the left. So your right hand finds your left thigh. Your left hand comes to the floor. And if you need a little propping under that hand, make sure to use it because you don't want to be leaning back to try to touch the floor. You want to have a vertical arm and a vertical trunk. We're just going to take 5 breaths here. And after your next exhalation, inhale, raise the arms, come back to center. And exhale, you're turning to the right. Left hand finds the right thigh. Right hand is directly behind you in the center of your body, propped if you need that. And go ahead and finish out an exhalation. Inhale to raise the arms and come back to center. And exhale, release your arms. So we're going to transition to downward dog so that we can really release the legs and relieve. Just trying to say both things at once, I think. So I'm going to have you put your blocks under your heels because we're not emphasizing our deepest forward bends today. And so I want to give your heels support and kind of a stopping point so that we can just really work on keeping the integrity of the external rotation of the shoulders and the lift and spread of the chest. So that you'll just set those blocks up so that your toes are in front of the blocks. And when you do come up, just your heels hit the blocks. So not the arches of your feet, nothing else but the heels. And then make sure you're starting from your table position. You might have your hands a little more forward than the shoulders, middle fingers pointing forward. Turn the toes underneath very well. And then exhale, extend. And the heels hopefully have adequate support so that you don't have to really focus on pressing heels down. You're going to move your shoulder blades in. You're going to take the navel to the spine. Remember, we don't want to distort the lumbar. We don't want to be pooching belly, sway back because we've opened the chest. And now you're going to try to bring those inner upper arms forward. You might feel like your inner elbows are turning forward. And just see if that helps you move the shoulders into external rotation a little bit more. Meanwhile, roll your inner knees back and widen the backs of the knees. Take the outer knees in toward the inner knees. Use your abdomen to give your lower back a little support. Remember the idea of an underside of an umbrella. So float the lower abdomen toward the back body or spread the lower abdomen toward the back body. Just a couple more breaths if you can sustain. And if you need to come out, you're going to creep into a standing forward bend. So now we're going to all start to walk the feet in. And then bend your knees slightly, take hold of your hips, kind of grip your stomach muscles to support your spine coming up to an upright position. And then put yourself into standing mountain Tadasana. Starting with your palms turning forward. So sometimes we distort our poses just to put ourselves in wise actions or to imprint the body. So palms facing forward, which isn't the pose, of course, but notice how that puts your shoulders in external rotation. And then see if you can keep that and realign your palms to face your thighs. And you can visualize, imagery is really helpful in yoga. So you can visualize the flesh of your arms turning from the inner upper arms towards the outer upper arms, towards the back upper arms. Okay, so release your Tadasana and free the limbs. We're going to do a couple of versions of a standing lunge with your 2 blocks. If you feel like your back is tight or your balance is compromised, you can always substitute blocks with a chair seat. So feel free to use that option. And we're going to place the blocks to the short end of the mat. And then you can come back to mountain pose. We'll be jumping or stepping out. So the blocks are on the right side. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Go ahead and jump or step out. And then take hold of your hips. And you're going to pivot the right toes to face the blocks. And you're going to pivot the left toes in. And then you're going to keep pivoting the left foot so that you come off the left heel. And then you're going to sink the right knee above the right ankle. So you might notice you need to grow the distance between your feet, because what we want to see is the right knee above the right ankle, not beyond it. Okay, so now you're going to come forward and grab the blocks. They're going to be to the either side of the right foot equally. So you should have your hands right kind of beneath the line of the shoulders. And first, just work to fully extend your left leg. And then work to just find a little more depth in your right hip space. And I want you to kind of move your torso so that you're using your thigh as a shelf. So bring your torso kind of over the thigh so you feel a little bit of support to the front body with your thigh. And now here with arms down, we have the biggest challenge is to get the shoulders to sit in external rotation. So what you're going to do is, again, just like you did in down dog, turn the inner upper arms. You'll see your inner elbows moving kind of to face out. That's a good sign. And notice how that helps you bring the chest forward. Look forward as well. That's another great tool. Okay, so you're going to have to really anchor into your legs. Use the support of the thigh to the chest. Now reach your arms forward. Good, now swing the arms back. Reaching out through the fingertips, turn your palms to face the floor. Notice how you can manipulate those arms to help you spread the chest. Good. Now see if you can join the hands behind your back. Pull those arms to a straight position. Keep the interlock strong. Wonderful. Come back to your blocks and see if it had any effect, all those different variations you just did, to keep the shoulder blades moving forward, to keep the shoulders sitting back rather than drooping forward. And then you can use your blocks like little stilts. You can straighten your right leg, put a little extra weight in your left toes, and step forward. And now use your stomach muscles to come up. And right where you're standing, take a mountain pose. Notice the breath. Let the body arrange itself into good alignment. Good alignment is conservative of energy. And as you're ready, you can pick up your blocks and move them over to the left. So it's a lot of work, so that's why I kind of ran through them quickly. And hopefully you felt a little bit of a good residual when you got to that last hands down version. Maybe it didn't feel exactly like the first hands down version. So we'll do it to the left. As you're ready, jump or step out. You can put your hands on your hips. You're going to pivot to face those blocks. First, just step in with your right foot, but then you can just pivot off the heel so that your right toes are facing the same direction as your left toes. And then we're going to bend the left knee. We're going to do our best to straighten the right leg. Make sure you have enough room between your feet that your knee didn't just go beyond your ankle. And now we're going to lengthen over the left thigh and put our blocks under each shoulder in our hands. And one way that you'll access the support, the shelf of your thigh, is if you can soften a little bit more into the left hip here. We always have a little resistance going on in our hips. Sometimes we can move through that little layer of resistance. We can go a little bit deeper into this lunge. In Iyengar yoga, they call it the square. So your thigh is level with the floor, your shin is perpendicular. And just notice how it's difficult to get the shoulders externally rotated, but do some work here. Turn the flesh of the inner upper arms, watch those inner elbows rotate forward, See if you can feel your shoulder blades moving in. Look forward, that's gonna help as well. Now you're gonna tap into the power of your legs. You're gonna use the support shelf of your left thigh, sweep the arms forward, shoulders plugged into the trunk, sweep the arms back, turn the palms to face the floor, so you can really encourage the arms to rotate, and then go into your binding position with your hands, pull those hands back, shoot the breastbone forward, out of those hands. Good, go back to your blocks and see if any of that had an effect the second time around with your hands down. And you keep a forwardness and a spread to your chest. Nice work. So a little bit of more of a straight left leg, a little bit more weight into your right foot, a little momentum here, like you're springing forward, you're gonna bring the right foot to meet the left. Take hold of your hips and come up. And right where you are, put yourself in Tadasana. And allow for that breath flow, whatever it is. Don't try to quiet it down, don't try to shrink it down. Okay. Similar work, different pose. We're going to do Parsvottanasana. So blocks go back to the right. We're going to do the very same set of arm work, but we'll begin our Parsvottanasana legs, which is our straight legs. So from the center of the mat, you can jump or step out. Take hold of your hips. Pivot the right toes out, the left toes in, and make sure that the feet are running along the lines of the hips. So you have enough width between your feet that you're able to roll those hips around so they square. Okay, take the arms up. Take those arms any amount farther back to push those shoulder blades forward. You're going to align right now, you're turning your trunk to align with your right leg. You're straightening your left leg. You're going to lengthen forward, put those blocks in your hands right under your shoulders. Move the flesh of the inner upper arms out. Look forward. Feel your shoulder blades inserting toward the chest. Now we don't have the shelf support of our thigh against our chest. So you can opt to just do one arm here if both doesn't happen for you. But you're going to sweep one or both arms forward and then sweep them back. Turn the palms to face the floor, rolling those shoulders away from the floor. But instead of going into a bound position, we're going to do that later. Bring your hands back to your blocks. And then raise the arms, come all the way back up. Good work. And release your arms. Okay, so we're going to go into the reverse prayer position with the arms, which is the binding position for this pose, which isn't accessible to all of us. So, but we always do try to see where we are with it. So just joining the palms together with thumbs pointing down, with fingertips pointing down, thumbs against your back, and sliding your fingertips onto your back, and then sliding the pinkies onto your back, and then working the hands up to that space, the shoulder blade line. And then last but not least, sealing the hands. So if you can seal the hands, it puts the shoulders in external rotation. And if you can't seal the hands, we don't have a functional position for the arms, which means it's useless. So you want to find an alternative, either interlock like you've done, or some people prefer opposite forearms, to grab opposite forearms or even elbows. So basically you're just looking for the pose that puts your shoulders in the best position for you. Okay, lift and spread the chest, inhale, exhale, extend over the right leg. And then your work is to resist those shoulders from drooping to the floor. So take the flesh of the front shoulder and roll it toward the back shoulder. Take the elbow tips up. And inhale, lengthen up and out of it. Good. Release your arms. Pivot back if your blocks aren't in your way. And jump or step your feet together. And just put yourself back in mountain pose. Looking away from your brain. Let your shoulders become heavy. And we usually wait for that smooth, silky breath to return before we proceed. And then you're gonna transfer your blocks to your left side. Okay, so as you're ready, you can widen your stance one way or another. Take your hips, pivot the left toes out, right toes in, and maybe stepping a little wider with that back foot. So you're clearing your hips to a square position. Moving the tailbone in, back leg should be straight. Don't let your pelvic bowl tilt forward. So Kathleen, do a little lifting up of the front rim of the pelvic bowl, take the tailbone in a little bit. Raise the arms up. Turning from the right side body to the left. So you want to really be turning a little bit to point your torso to align with the left leg, come to the top of an in-breath, lengthen forward, and put your blocks right beneath the shoulder line, evenly around the inner and outer left foot. And then work the flesh of the arms. Turning from the inner arms to the outer arms, look forward. Feel the shoulder blades plugging into the front body. Make sure that your lumbar spine doesn't have the ill effect of doing that. You're going to keep the navel moving toward the spine. Straightening both legs. Again, you can opt to just do one arm if you're feeling either unstable or like you don't have the power. Otherwise, you're going to sweep both arms forward. Both arms back. Palms face the floor. And then take your hands back to your blocks. Good. And now we're going to come up with straight arms. So use your stomach muscles, use the back heel as an anchor, come all the way up. And then you're going to go into your reverse prayer position. If you're doing opposite forearms, just try to grab the opposite crossing that you did from the right side. Do the alternate. Same with the interlock. Go into your alternate interlock if you're doing that version. And of course, reverse prayer is a symmetrical pose. So you're going to go right back to the same reverse prayer if that's what you're doing. Just make sure you have the best opportunity for the chest. So the shoulders are as best they can be in the external rotation. Turn your torso to face that left leg. Extend your back leg, anchor into the heel. Big breath in. And then exhale, lengthen over your left leg. Resisting those elbows up, resisting those shoulders from front to back. Beautiful. Use your back heel, use the top of your head. Use an inhale and then come up. Nice work. Pivot back to a wide stance. Extend your arms and jump or step back in. Unfold your arms. And standing in Tadasana. It's really our standing rest. Try not to get in the way of your breathing. Maybe you're hearing loud, fast, panting breaths. That's fine. Just holding the pose long enough to come back to regulated, down-regulated breathing. Okay, so that is standing. We're going to come to seated. And we're going to sit on a blanket. We did Marichiasana on Monday. We're going to do it differently today and just touch upon it, not a lot of deep instruction, but I just wanted to show you a second option. So the strap will be useful. And you'll sit on the edge of your blanket in Dandasana. And just like you did when you were seated, you can turn the flesh of your thighs to help spread the flesh out from underneath the sitting bones. So you're turning the thighs, you're lifting the outer thigh up and the inner thigh, you're rolling it down. And then if you have kind of bulkier leg muscles, sometimes it's helpful to just run your fingers along the backs of the calf muscles so they sit down. I remember in a class years ago, somebody asked, if I get my knees down, my heels float up. Is that okay? No. So we want to have both. So one way you can do this is to help spread the flesh from behind the calf muscles, just bifurcate it or, you know, slice it down the middle a little bit so it sits down a little bit more. So take a moment to sit tall, elbows in, shoulder blades forward, watch the lumbar, just sensing the lift and spread of your chest. On Monday, we talked about the 4 moons of the chest, kind of the upper chest and the lower chest. And oftentimes we might have 2 of them shining, not all 4 of them. So you want to think about all 4 moons shining brightly. Okay, so let's take our fingertips and just scoop underneath the right knee and draw the right heel toward the right sitting bone. So we approach this pose a little differently on Monday. Today we're going to approach it in an alternate way. We're going to kind of sneak in through a back door. So you're going to bring your right arm inside the right leg, yeah. And you're going to bring both hands over to the left. Okay. And you're just kind of turning your spine really well to the left. And so one piece of this is you're getting a good amount of mobility because, like we talked about, when you move the spine in various directions, it can benefit forward folding. So you're getting a nice lateral movement to your spine, but we're also essentially lengthening the right arm. So just kind of crawl your right fingertips out as far as you can. And then I want you to keep that length of your right arm. You're going to start to kind of walk, keep your torso low. You're going to start to walk back to facing your left foot. And now see about taking that right arm in front of your right shin. Your thumb is pointing down. So this is an interesting thing. A lot of our poses where we want the shoulders to be in external rotation, the doorway is through internal rotation. So you're turning your thumb down, your palm faces back. You're attempting to get your armpit near the shin. Okay, so that's a good amount of length. Then you're going to awkwardly, it's very awkward, you're going to reach around your shin. Okay, and wrap your hand wherever it fits, wrap your hand alongside the thigh or whatever you're touching. Reach around now with your left arm and see how close the hands come together. For some of us, it's not even close, right? So that's where you would grab that strap. You'd put your strap in your hands behind your back. And your knuckles should be facing your body, which again feels very kind of antithetical to the work we're doing. Your work is going to be, once you have the bind, to resist that, to roll the shoulders back. So again, a lot of these poses we start internally rotated. We have to put ourselves in external rotation. So let enough slack out that you can drop your right arm over the shin. You still have your hands together on the strap, not together, but holding the strap. And then crawl the hands closer together. Press your arm against your shin and see if you can roll the shoulders back. Good. Look forward and your torso is aligning with your left leg. So feel the function of the arms here. Okay, so that's all we're going to do with that. I just wanted to point out that there's always other ways into these poses. Let off your strap, come up to sitting upright, extend your right leg, and put yourself back at Dandasana. Okay, and then we'll scoop underneath the right knee, left knee, sorry. Remember the closeness of the heel to the sitting bone is about how close you can bring it while maintaining the verticality of your lower back. Don't slump your back just to get the foot close. Good. And now we're going to bring both hands over to the right side. And we're just going to kind of crawl the hands out so that we're kind of tilted over the floor at an angle. We're bringing this really nice movement to the spine, but we're also trying to really lengthen. We're trying to optimize the length of the left arm, because remember that arm is going to be wrapping around the left shin in a moment. So just kind of crawl those fingertips out as much as you can. Breathe into it. And then now you're going to start to move both hands, stay low with your torso, but move both hands back toward that right foot. And then you're going to bring the left arm, so still inside the left leg, your thumb is pointing down, reach forward like you're trying to grab something on the floor. You're trying to get that arm as much in front of you as you can. See if you can take that armpit near the shin, and then see about bending at the elbow joint and just pressing your hand against whatever part of your body it touches. Right hand is going to come around and see if they can come together. Probably not. So then we come up. We grab our strap behind our back with the knuckles forward. Lots of space between the hands. We want ample room to be able to drop the left arm over the left shin. Your hands are resisting from on the strap. They're pulling away from each other on the strap. You're going to walk the hands as close together as they go. Feel how droopy your shoulders feel. Now your work is to really move the flesh of the shoulders from front to back. Lift those shoulders off the floor. Press your arm against your shin. Make it functional. It's not just a decorative, pretty thing. It's functional. Good. And now release. Or extend your legs. So I told you in the past, one of the definitions of yoga is we take more and more compact poses and we have to find the space. That's our work as practitioners, is to find the space. So you might feel in these vines that that work is impossible, it's oppressive. So it's just a sign that there's a lot more pre-work to do. It's not a sign that you failed or anything, it's just that we have enough work before these vines to focus on for now. So Varad Vajrasana. This is the pose that's a twist. It's not a forward bend, but we're going to put our right leg to begin with in hero pose. And we are going to bind. So I want you to have your strap. So remember, if you need to pad your shin for hero pose, you should do that. The last thing we want is to not be able to do the pose because our bone is grinding against the floor and driving us crazy. So classically, one leg is in hero and one leg is in lotus pose, which means we have the deepest kind of internal and external rotation for the hips happening at the same time. Not today. We're going to do the modified lotus leg. It's going to be crossing the foot underneath your right ankle. So you're going to see your left toes pointing out to the side and your right toes pointing straight back. Ideally, we want the knees close together. And ideally, you want to have a really good hero leg. So you remember what that looks like. We have the kneecap, four corners looking forward. I have more muscle on my legs, so I always have to give a lot of support to my not hero leg buttock. So my left buttock, I have an actual block under it so that my hips are level. That being said, there's always going to be a very imbalanced feeling in this pose that will never feel perfect. So your work is going to be always to kind of bring the balance, but it's never going to be perfect because of the shape we're in. So make a little passable loop with your strap. And then you're just going to feed the tail through the rings. And then we'll put the loop around the right arm. And then you're going to grab the tail with your left hand behind your back. So just to point out, one day, someday, you might be grabbing your arm directly, but I like to teach with the ample room, and then you can start to minimize it in time. Okay, so you're holding close to that loop. Notice the imbalance, like I just said, of the legs. So already I want you to give special attention to bringing weight back to your hero leg, hero shin, hero foot, so that we don't just take momentum and tip over to the left. Okay, take an inhale here, and then exhale, you're going to throw your right back of your hand onto your left thigh. Then you're going to creep your left hand closer to the arm if you can, and then start to turn well to the left. And as you turn away from your hero leg, you really have to keep your attention on that leg because it's your anchor. Use the back of the hand pressing against the thigh to help you move the right side ribs around out of the kind of trapped armpit area into the sunlight. And on an in-breath, you can come back to center. Just leave your strap where it is for now. You're going to put your legs into Marichyasana. So this is just a good transition to learn. You can put your hero leg into Marichyasana position. It's just stepping down. It's safer transition than any other way to come out of the hero pose, and just come back to Dandasana. And because we have that deep knee flexion on both sides, really take some time to squeeze the backs of the knees against the floor without floating your heels. Okay. And now we'll start to set up our left leg in the hero pose. Propping the right buttock as much as you need to help kind of equalize the pelvis. Taking the left toes straight back, just like a hero foot would look. And right toes should be perpendicular to the left toes, pointing off to the side. Your knees you're trying to keep close together. And then your arm loop goes on your left arm. And you'll grab the tail with your right hand. Don't be as close as you can be because you need a little room to cross the body. When you throw that arm, notice how it's feeling a little bit tight. So start with an ample room. Don't be as close to the arm as you can be. Give yourself some slack. Anchor into your left shin and foot and toenails. Inhale, and on an exhale, throw the arm. So right back of your hand against the left back of your hand against the right thigh. And then really anchoring into your hero leg. Trying to keep some weight down into the hero leg side so that you don't just tip over. Using the back of the hand against your thigh to help move the side ribs around. Three more breaths. After you come through an exhalation, you can inhale, just kind of lift yourself out of it, back to center. And then the hero leg, you're just going to stand it up into Marichyasana. Okay, and the other side's not as important. We're not coming out of that internal hip rotation. You can take the prop away from the buttock and come back to Dandasana. Okay. I'm trying to decide. I do think I want to I had one more pose plan that I think I want to try to get to here. So Marichyasana, right leg. Left leg is this is kind of a combo pose. Your left leg is going to kind of be in the half Lord of the Fishes, meaning your left heel is near your right buttock. And your right foot is in Marichyasana. I wanted to include this pose because in most of our forward bends, we go deeper by going to the floor. In this pose, we're going to be binding our arms. We go deeper by coming away from the floor. So I think it's interesting in that way, and maybe a good place to kind of end with these active poses. So we're going to use the strap just like we did for Marichyasana earlier, just a little bit ago. So you're going to put it in your hands behind your back with your knuckles facing your body and enough room between your hands that you're going to be able to drop your right arm in front of your right shin. Yep, good job. Okay, so crawl your hands together. And once you kind of reach that spot where the hands aren't going to go much closer, just be there, pull the hands apart, and you're going to resist your elbows up. You're going to resist your shoulders away from the floor. You're pressing your arm against your leg, and you're doing your best to bring your chest up and to keep your chest pointing forward, to keep your right knee in, not flaring wide, to keep some weight in your right buttock. Resisting yourself away from the floor here. Couple deep breaths. Come to the top of an inhale and exhale, just bowing gently. Let your strap go, just put it on the floor and then bring yourself up. We can just simply switch out our legs here. Make sure you have enough support under your sitting bones. Remember, the last thing we want is to kind of collapse the lumbar. Okay, so we have the Marichyasana left leg. We have our right heel kind of tucked in near the left buttock or sitting bone. And you're going to take your strap, knuckles facing your body. Nice amount of room so that you can start in a very compact position and then work the hands together. Just kind of find a place that feels like a good edge to work from. And then just acknowledge how kind of oppressed and slumped we feel. And there's your work. So your work is to start to move the elbow tips up, to roll the flesh of the inner upper arms from the front to the back, to press your arm into your shin, to bring those foremoons of the chest forward. Good. Breathe. And hopefully you're sensing that the work you're doing is pushing your shoulder blades forward to the chest for support. A couple more big in breaths here. And when you come to the top of the next in breath, you can exhale and come back toward the floor. Release the hands. And then come up. Extend your legs. Good. So this is a good way to practice if your lower back has had enough forward flexion. You can either work on half forward bends or on binds, because you've noticed probably that we haven't gone into our deepest forward bends when we bind. These binds are limiting us to keep the integrity in the poses. And oftentimes that means you're not going as deep as you usually do because you're going in kind of with really strong integrity. So hopefully your back isn't feeling too sore at this point, but we are going to do a passive bridge pose just to kind of cleanse the palate before Shavasana. So you can come onto your back with a block nearby. And either tuck the low horizontal block under your sacrum, or you might move to the middle height, and then have your shins be vertical, we don't want the heels super close to the buttocks. Also take your feet wide, but make sure that your toes are in front of your heels. You don't want to be turning out because that's gonna kind of distort things. So toes in front of heels. Hands can be on your belly, or you can unfold your arms. It's really just what feels good. And then make sure that you rock your head and encourage the chin to snuggle down toward the chest. And then try to become passive. This is certainly not your active bridge pose. We are using the prop so that we don't have to hold ourselves up with our own efforts. And if you'd like to take it just a little step farther, begin to extend your legs and keep the feet as wide as your hips, if not slightly wider. Roll your inner thighs down and try to have your toes in line with your heels, above your heels. And as you press your heels into the ground, feel the tailbone really plunging into the front body. Really good reset for your back. And you're going to step the feet back now. If you did extend, you're going to gently remove your block and just taking any other movements that you really need here before you come into final resting pose. We'll have a couple minutes in Shavasana. So taking just a few moments to really place your body, to actually put yourself in the pose of Shavasana. And then the rest of the work is without effort. The rest of the pose is really kind of turning off the physical body, releasing the effort of this practice, really receiving utmost support from the floor. Noticing and the allowing. Sometimes we notice, but we don't allow. So make sure you're noticing and allowing. Whatever bubbles up to consciousness, when we're not as mindful, we tend to push and pull. We tend to favor and have aversions. Instead of doing that, just let things bubble up, acknowledge them, let them be present, and then watch them float away. Take a few more breaths, just observing your breath. Bringing very gentle movement into your body through the extremities, the fingers, the toes. wrists and ankles, the elbows and the knees. Gently shifting to either side of your body. And then using your hands against the floor, pressing down firmly to help bring yourself up. You're upright. Just take one more moment, placing the hands to the heart center, breathing the sternum into the thumbs, scrubbing up on the breastbone with the base of the thumbs, imagining the flesh of your chest lifting, rolling over the shoulders, down your back. Easy smile to your face. Deep breath in through the nose. Let it go. The place within me that I know to be divine, honor that place within each of you. Namaste. Well, thanks everyone for being here and have a great weekend. And I'll see you soon.